I only came to the library because the Wi-Fi at home was out. That's it. No mystery, no grand purpose. Just a spot to work in peace, away from construction noise and spotty signal. But the computer, Terminal 4, had other plans. And what it showed me? It wasn't mine. It couldn't be mine, because it knew something I'd never told anyone. The city library was nearly empty that Wednesday. Late afternoon in a dying part of town with crumbling bookshelves and fluorescent lights that flickered when you walked past them. Terminal 1 was occupied by a guy watching old YouTube videos on silent. Terminal 2 had a woman asleep with a self-help book open on her lap. Terminal 3 was frozen. So I went to Terminal 4. It booted up fine, humming like an ancient machine being revived for one last task. Black screen. Blue login box. Standard stuff. I typed my library card number. Waited. The desktop loaded with a single file already on it. Recollection_report_001.pdf. I almost closed it without looking. I figured someone forgot to log out. But then I saw the name in the corner of the document. Name, Eli M. Garrett. Date of birth, October 17, 1990. Memory stream, initial extraction. That's me. Full name, birthday correct. Which should have been impossible. Because this was not my account. Not my session. Not even my drive. I clicked it open, hands shaking slightly. The document was short, just 3 pages. But what it described was exactly right. Down to details I hadn't thought about in over 20 years. The subject is 4 years old. They are sitting beneath a red and green quilt in the upstairs hallway closet. Light filters through the slats in the door. A dog is scratching at the outside. I remembered that. God, I hadn't remembered that in decades. Our family dog, Bailey, the German Shepherd. I used to hide in that closet whenever my parents fought. How could this file possibly know? I looked around. Nobody noticed me. I leaned in closer. Page 2. The subject is 9 years old. A drawing has been taped to the underside of their bed. Crayon figures, one with no face. When asked about it, the subject says, "That's the one who watches me when I sleep." That sent a chill down my spine. Because that drawing was real. And I never told anyone about it. I used to whisper to it, to the blank figure I thought lived under my bed. Like a game. Except sometimes. I heard whispers back. I shut the file and logged off. Grabbed my things. Walked straight out of the library without looking at anyone. I told myself it had to be a mistake. A glitch. A prank. Some creepy coincidence. But then, as I was halfway to the parking lot, I heard the sound. From my tote bag. WHRRR. Click. Slide. I stopped. Reached in. The library printer had spat out something after I'd left. And it was now sitting in my bag. The paper was warm. Single sheet. And at the top, in courier font. Recollection_report_002. Subject, Eli M. Garrett. Age 13. The subject hears scratching again. Closet door, 2nd floor. This time, it's not the dog. My knees buckled. I sat down on the curb like I'd been struck. Because Bailey, our dog, had been put down by that point. I remembered the scratching. But I told myself it was just the house settling. Now I wasn't sure. That night, I couldn't sleep. I checked every folder on my home computer. Nothing like the report. No file with that name. No sign of Terminal 4, either, not even a browser log. Like the document never existed except on that one machine. And yet it knew. It knew everything. I called the library the next morning. Asked to speak to whoever managed the public computers. The woman on the line was polite until I asked about Terminal 4. Then she paused. "I'm sorry, sir. We don't have a Terminal 4 anymore." "What?" "That system was decommissioned over a year ago. All terminals go from 1 to 3 now." I insisted I used it yesterday. Even described where it sat, near the back, next to the microfiche cabinet. She sighed. "That desk hasn't had a machine since last winter. We use it for donations now." I drove back. Walked straight in. The terminal was gone. Not even a power outlet where it had been. Just a rolling cart stacked with dusty hardcovers and a sign, "Free to a good home." But when I stepped close, I noticed something on the wall. A faint square where dust didn't settle. Monitor-shaped. Recently removed. And on the floor? A curl of paper. Printer paper. Face down. I picked it up. Same courier font. Same heading. Recollection_report_003. Subject, Eli M. Garrett. Age 18. The subject forgets the face. Not the fear. It still lives behind glass. Waiting. That's when I remembered the mirror. In her old house? The one I smashed my fist into during a panic attack in high school. I told my mom it was because I was angry. But the truth? I saw something standing behind me in the reflection. Something tall, faceless, exactly like the crayon drawing. I'm scared now. Not of the memory, but of what's watching the memory. Something is documenting me, things no one should know. Things I forgot on purpose. And I think the library was just the start. Because tonight, another page printed from my home printer. I don't remember sending it, but the paper was still warm. And at the top it read, Recollection_report_004. The subject no longer knows when the memories begin or when they end. When I was 7, I broke my left wrist falling off a jungle gym. I had to relearn how to write slowly, sloppily, with a twisted grip. Even years later, my cursive always bent upward at the ends, like every word was trying to float off the page. I haven't written like that in over 2 decades. But the page that appeared on my desk this morning, it was written in that exact script. It didn't come from my printer. No warm paper. No telltale hum. It was just there, nestled between bills and a coupon book. At first, I thought it was a forgotten childhood journal entry. But the date in the top corner said, tomorrow. The text was in crayon. Red. Just like I used to use in Mrs. Kim's first grade class. One sentence. Childish. Looping. But clearly mine. Don't trust the memories. They're not all yours. I stared at it for hours. How could something written in my childhood hand predict a warning I only needed now? Was it a prank? A plant? But the paper felt old. Not artificially weathered, just genuinely aged. Like it had been waiting for me for a long, long time. I started digging through boxes in the attic. Old school papers. Book reports. Art class projects. Sure enough, the looped G, the crooked S, the odd spacing, it all matched. The handwriting was identical to mine from 1997. But the warning? The awareness? Way beyond anything I could have written back then. Unless I didn't write it then. Unless I wrote it later, but in the hand of my younger self. Or something else did. Something that knows my memories better than I do. I went back to the library. I had to, even if Terminal 4 was gone. Even if it meant nothing. Maybe something would be waiting. It was. Behind the free books cart where Terminal 4 had been, I noticed something strange. A faint clicking sound. Not from the lights. From under the desk. I crouched down and saw what looked like a paper feed roller, the kind you'd find in a built-in industrial printer. It had been sealed over with a thin panel of plastic, spray-painted beige. But the paper was still feeding out. One slow inch at a time. I peeled the plastic back. There was a slit in the wall, perfectly vertical. A whisper-thin strip of paper emerged from it. Not your standard printout. It looked like ticker tape from a stock machine. And on it, in tiny, neat lettering, Recollection_report_005. Age 6. Subject sees the door open by itself. Thinks it's the wind. Doesn't realize the door was never open to begin with. That night, I barely slept. Not because I was scared. Because I couldn't remember the door. Not the wind. Not the moment. Just an absence where a memory should be. Like something had been pried loose. And then the dreams started. Or maybe not dreams. Flashbacks. Except they didn't feel like mine. A girl crying behind a file cabinet. A basement I've never been in. A smell of bleach and old pennies. And always in the background, the sound of paper feeding. In the morning, 3 more pages were waiting for me on the kitchen table. I hadn't printed anything. No one else has keys to my apartment. They were already fanned out, neatly arranged. Like someone wanted me to see them in order. One of them read, Recollection_report_006. The subject begins to experience bleed-through. Shared memories. Echoed thoughts. Identity drift. Early phase. I dropped the page. It didn't fall straight. It landed crooked, half on, half off the table. And beneath it was another slip of paper. This one in crayon again. Same red. Same handwriting. She's trying to give them back. Give what back? Memories? Or something worse? I thought I was losing it. I called my mom. Asked her the weirdest question I've ever asked. Did I ever have a sibling that didn't make it? She paused for so long I thought the line went dead. Then she said, Eli, what made you ask that? She didn't deny it. She didn't say yes either. But something in her voice cracked. Like a fault line that had been waiting for years. You had a sister. Technically. Just for a little while. I was pregnant before you. Only a few months in. We didn't even name her. You weren't supposed to know. I thanked her. Hung up. Then went straight back to the attic. ripped open every old box. And there, in a dusty plastic folder behind my second-grade report cards, I found a drawing. 2 stick figures holding hands. One with a balloon, one with no face, and written in shaky, crayon handwriting, Eli and me. No name, just me. I don't think these memories were stolen. I think they were shared. Somewhere, somehow, I'd been carrying both. Mine and hers. And now, something was trying to return the ones that belonged to her. But who or what was doing the returning? And why now? Because I just found another page on the floor outside my bedroom. Not under the door. Inside the room. Same format. Typed. Courier font. Only one line. Recollection_report_007. She's getting stronger every time you remember her. I covered the mirror in the hallway with a towel. Not because I'm superstitious, I never was, but because I saw something that shouldn't have been there. 2 things, actually. The first was me, of course. The second was also me, except it was still standing after I walked away. I only noticed because I went to get a glass of water and glanced back over my shoulder. There I was, reflection still standing in front of the mirror, even though I was 3 steps down the hall. It didn't follow, didn't wave. It just stood there, watching. And it was smiling. I wasn't. When I pulled the towel down over the mirror, it fought back. Static shot up my arms, the kind you feel when rubbing wool in winter, but much stronger. The mirror buzzed. I swear to God. And just before the glass disappeared beneath the towel, I caught one last glimpse of the other me, mouthing a word. Looked like mine. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the kitchen with every light on, surrounded by printed pages. New ones kept appearing every few hours, not just on my printer, under the fridge, tucked into the folds of the couch, stuffed in the seams of books I hadn't touched in years. They're everywhere now, each one labeled recollection_report_008. Subject begins to experience contamination of personal narrative. Reflection divergence has initiated. Timeline variance detectable in static surfaces. Reflection divergence. That's what they're calling it now. They being whoever is writing these. Or maybe whatever. Because I no longer believe there's a person on the other end. Or even a machine. Feels older. Like something collecting, sorting, curating my past. Not just mine. Ours. I tried throwing the papers away. Burning a few in the sink. They don't burn. Not really. They crisp around the edges, then curl, then flatten out again with no marks at all. Like they're printed on something resistant. Like they're meant to survive. So I started reading them all in order. They're not chronological. Some reference memories I haven't had yet. Some describe things I vaguely recall. A sensation, a whisper, a place that feels familiar but has no name. One mentions, age 11. Subject begins writing stories that weren't assigned. Characters speak in second person. One figure returns often, no face, only hands. Hands that rearrange. I found that story in an old notebook. The character was called Helper, and I always wrote his scenes in second person. You open the box. You find something that smells like your breath. You keep it, even though it's warm. I don't remember writing that, but it's in my hand. More disturbing, the photos are changing. Family albums I haven't touched in years suddenly look off. My second-grade birthday photo now shows 2 cakes. One with Eli on it. The other says EM. My initials. But we never used them like that. Not then. And in the back of the photo, a shape near the curtain. A girl. Faceless. Blurry. Too tall for her age. Almost like she's been inserted. I texted my cousin Henry. He was at that birthday party. I asked him, "Hey, random question. Was there a second cake at my 8th birthday?" His reply, "Yeah. One for you, one for your sister. She didn't eat hers though. You said she was imaginary, lol. Didn't she write you notes in red crayon?" I nearly dropped the phone. I never told him about the red crayon. I never told anyone. I asked him to call me. He didn't pick up. An hour later, a new message came through. "Stop remembering. She's getting closer." But the sender wasn't Henry. came from an unknown number. Area code 000. That's when the mirror in the hallway fell. I didn't touch it, didn't bump the wall. It just crashed to the floor, face down. I stood over it, breath locked in my throat. The towel had slipped during the fall, and in the shards of glass peeking from under the edge, I saw her. Not me, her. The girl from the photos. From the dream I keep having. The one where she whispers backwards phrases while I sleep. She was in the reflection, but not on the floor. I didn't pick it up. I didn't check the rest. I just stepped over the frame and left the mirror there, like a grave I didn't want to disturb, because part of me thinks she's not inside the reflection. The reflection is inside her. Another report appeared this morning, wedged into my mailbox despite the fact that the door was locked. Typed, Courier, usual header, recollection_report_009. The subject begins to accept dual narrative structure. Primary identity erosion detected. Shared vector integration at 42%. And beneath that, handwritten in crayon, only one of us gets to finish the story. I tried to call Dr. Karen Voigt, my childhood therapist. She used to let me draw on the back of her appointment sheets with red crayons while we talked about nothing. She'd say, "Sometimes it helps to tell the truth without words." I remembered her soft voice. I needed it again, but the number went straight to voicemail. This line is no longer in service. I searched her online. Her obituary was dated 2017. She'd been dead for 6 years. Except someone answered her phone yesterday. It rang 3 times. Then a click. No voicemail. No greeting. Just silence. Then a whisper. "Eli or Emily? Which one do you feel like today?" I froze. The line crackled like old vinyl. Then more static. And then, "She's almost done rearranging. You're mostly her now." I hung up, but the words kept ringing in my skull. Emily. That was the name my mom never gave the lost child. She told me that herself they never named her. But now, I wasn't so sure. When I checked my birth certificate, it was still the same. Eli Michael Garrett. But my school records? Different story. I dug them out of a sealed bin from storage. Inside the yellow folder marked, Kindergarten First Grade. A sticky note was attached to my first report card. Emily is having a hard time focusing during reading time. Seems fixated on mirror drawings. My name wasn't corrected. It wasn't crossed out. It was just wrong from the start. That same night, more reports appeared. 10 pages stuffed into the freezer. Each one warped with condensation. Each one addressed to Emily M. Garrett. One line stood out. Recollection_report_010. Subject's preferred name is shifting. The forgotten identity begins rewriting context. Historical certainty now below 50%. Underneath, handwritten in red crayon, "You'll feel better once you remember it's me." I started seeing the name Emily everywhere. Old photos, library cards, even the inside cover of a book I know I never wrote in, my childhood copy of Where the Sidewalk Ends. On the first page, in kid handwriting, "This belongs to Emily. She reads the scary poems out loud when the lights are off." The ink was dry, the pen indentation deep, as if it had always been there. I'm terrified, not just because someone is rewriting my past, but because I remember writing that now. And I know I didn't, at least not when I was still only Eli. The memories are bleeding through faster now. I'll be brushing my teeth, and suddenly remember which shade of lipstick she wore to 6th grade picture day. I'll be falling asleep, and recall the feeling of barrettes pulling at my scalp. None of those things happened to me, until now. It's not just memories. It's feelings, habits, even preferences. I've caught myself humming a lullaby I don't know. One I swear I've never heard, but I know every note. And I keep rearranging things in my apartment, mirroring them. Bookshelves, cups, clothes in the closet. One side for me, one side for her. Except I can't tell which is which anymore. I reached out to my friend Kara, one of the few people who knew me in grade school. I asked if she remembered me having a sister. She hesitated, then said, "I mean, didn't you both come to my 9th birthday party?" Your mom brought 2 gift bags. I still have the bracelet she made me. I asked if she remembered a name. She thought for a moment. Something. Eileen? Emily? She were red. I remember that. She always did. I ended the call before she could say more. I checked every photo of that party on social media. No sign of anyone else with me. Just me. But if you look closely in 3 of the photos, there's a faint double shadow. Mine and something beside me. Same height. Same angle. But there's no one there. The final page today came not from a printer, or in the freezer or the floor. It was inside my wallet, tucked behind my ID. A tiny square of paper, perfectly folded. When I unfolded it, I recognized the font immediately. Same report structure. Only this time, no recollection number. Just one line. Tomorrow, she signs the lease. You don't live here anymore. My lease now has someone else's name on it. Same apartment, same address, same monthly rate. But where it used to say, Tenant, Eli Michael Garrett, it now reads, Tenant, Emily M. Garrett. No strike-through. No edits. Printed clean. Seamless. Like it was always that way. I didn't notice until the management company emailed me a reminder about rent. I clicked the attachment, a PDF like usual. And there it was. Not just the name. The signature. My own handwriting. But the name signed was Emily, with a flourish on the Y that curled up like a hook. I've never signed my name like that, but it felt familiar. I called the office. The woman on the line was friendly. Too friendly. Emily, so nice to hear from you. All good with the unit. I corrected her. It's Eli. Eli Garrett. A pause. Faint clicking of a keyboard. I don't see anyone under that name. Only Emily. You must have changed it during onboarding. That was last March, right? I moved in 3 years ago. In June. I checked my utility bills. Same story. Water. Power. Internet. All addressed to Emily M. Garrett. And not just that, the account creation dates were newer. Like everything before 6 months ago just vanished. I logged into my internet provider's site. My saved password didn't work, but when I used the forgot password link and typed in my phone number, the account name returned was Emily, not Eli. And then the final punch. I checked my driver's license. I'd looked at it 100 times, kept it in my wallet every day. But now, same photo, same ID number, same birthday, but the name, Emily Marie Garrett. I don't remember ever taking that name, but part of me does. I tried calling my bank, told them I'd been the victim of identity theft. They verified my details, then said, "Thanks, Ms. Garrett. We'll issue you a new card right away." I stared at the wall for a long time, then walked over to the mirror I had rehung in the bedroom, a smaller one than the hallway glass I destroyed, and I asked it, "Am I Emily?" For a moment, the reflection didn't match. It hesitated, then caught up, but not quite. The eyes were still watching me after I blinked. The mouth smiled before mine moved. Then slowly it mouthed, "You are." The next report didn't come in paper form. It came via email, sent to my old college inbox, the one I haven't checked in years. Subject line, Recollection Report 011 Confirmation Update. Attached, a.txt file. Plain text. 1 sentence. Subject accepts revised designation. Integration complete at 62%. Then a PS. Red suits you better. I opened my closet. Half my clothes were now unfamiliar. Blouses. Long coats with red lining. Shoes I'd never wear. But the sizes fit perfectly. Even the scents were different. Floral. Faintly powdery. Familiar. A name tag sat atop the shoebox. E. Garrett, Office 14B. I don't work in an office. I'm freelance. A writer. But I found a key in my coat pocket I've never seen before. Labeled 14B. I went to the address printed on the card inside one of the blouses. It's real. A squat, nondescript building downtown. I walked in like I belonged. No one stopped me. In fact, one of the women by the elevator smiled and said, "Morning, Emily." I nodded, stepped into the lift, hit 14. I don't remember this place, but my hands knew the door code. 4 digits. I didn't even have to think. The keypad blinked green. Inside, a small, tidy office. Desk. Laptop. Nameplate. Emily Garrett, consultant. Photos line the wall, me shaking hands with clients I don't know. Me smiling next to a man I don't recognize. But I look happy. Natural. Like this was always my life. On the desk was a file folder labeled Final Phase. Inside, another report. Typed. Same font. Recollection_report_012. The subject has returned home. I ran out. Down the stairs. Onto the street. Because I didn't remember any of it. But my body did. My bones moved through those halls like they knew the turns. My hand fit the door handle without hesitation. Even the elevator music felt nostalgic. I don't think this is identity theft. This is identity overwrite. And I'm not resisting anymore. Not fully. Because somewhere deep in my mind, a softer voice keeps whispering. This is better. You're safer here. You don't have to remember what he saw. That night, I found a red dress hanging in my closet. I don't wear dresses. Never did. But I held it up. It was my size. And when I looked in the mirror, the reflection smiled before I did. The envelope was red. No stamp. No return address. Just my name. Emily M. Garrett. Scrawled in familiar red crayon. It was resting on my pillow when I came back from the grocery store. I hadn't locked the door, but still, no one should have gotten in. Inside, a single library due date slip. The kind they stopped using years ago. Stamped across the top, return session confirmed. Below that, Terminal 4, Main Library, June 1st, 3 p.m. Please bring what you've remembered. I stared at it for a long time, then checked the date. It was today. At that exact moment, the clock on my microwave flicked to 2:08 p.m. The drive to the library was automatic. Muscle memory again. I took streets I hadn't driven in years or thought I hadn't. But everything looked familiar. Not just visually, emotionally. Like the architecture remembered me. And when I pulled into the parking lot, the lights in the upper window blinked once. Almost like a wink. Inside, the library was empty. No front desk staff. No patrons. No noise. Just that soft flickering of overhead fluorescents, the ones that always seemed seconds away from going out. The air smelled like wet cardboard and ink. I walked back to the spot where Terminal 4 used to be. It was there again. Desk, chair, monitor. All restored. Even the plastic map beneath the wheels of the rolling chair had reappeared. I hadn't imagined it. I couldn't have. Because as I stepped closer, the monitor turned on. No login screen. Just a white window. One blinking cursor. Then lines of text began to appear, typing themselves. Welcome back, Emily. Recollection threshold passed. Please confirm receipt of restored identity. I reached for the keyboard, but before I could type, another line appeared. No response required. You were never gone. He was the fiction. I felt dizzy. The room seemed to tilt around me. I gripped the desk. The monitor flashed again. New text. Recollection_report_013. Subject has achieved near total reintegration. Eli construct now in final decay stage. Mirror divergence corrected. Forward-only protocol engaged. My fingers trembled. I reached for the mouse. Clicked a small folder on the corner of the screen labeled Legacy. Inside, dozens of video files. Each named after a year. 1990, 1991, 1992. Each year had subfolders. Each folder had clips. And each clip? Moments. Of my life. From angles that shouldn't exist. Me in preschool biting my thumb on the playground. Me in bed at age 6 whispering secrets to the closet. Me at age 10 screaming into a mirror. Some clips were grainy. Some crystal clear. But the most terrifying part? In many of them, I wasn't alone. A girl stood beside me. Same height. Same clothes. But with no face. Just skin where features should be. Until one day, in a file from 2004, she had eyes. Then a mouth. And in the last video, 2022, she looked exactly like me. I closed the folder, but a new window opened on its own. Red background, black text. Would you like to begin the final overwrite? Yes. And oh, I didn't click anything. I couldn't. My hands felt heavy, disconnected, like they were no longer mine. Behind me, a sound. Paper feeding. A printer I couldn't see word to life. And then, a page slid out from a slot beneath the desk. I picked it up. This one wasn't typed. It was hand-drawn, in red crayon. 2 stick figures. One labeled Eli. The other labeled me. But this time, me was crossed out. Above it, in darker strokes, Emily. And under that, a single line. He gave me back the body. It's only fair I forget him now. I looked at the monitor again. Yes was now blinking. NO was fading. I reached forward. And paused. because behind the screen, reflected faintly in the glass, there were two of me again, but this time, only one of us was breathing. When I got home from the library, my phone was already recording. It was propped up on the kitchen counter, camera facing me. Timer running, 00:18. 00:19. I hadn't set it up. No one else had keys, but I was on the screen, sitting in my chair, looking right at me. The version of me in the video wasn't smiling. Her face was tired, eyes dark, like she hadn't slept in days. She leaned forward and whispered, "Don't play the last file. If you see it, she finishes. And I don't come back." Then she looked straight at the lens at me and said, "Do you understand, Emily?" The video cut off. No ending. No timestamp. I checked my photo roll. That clip wasn't saved. It wasn't there before I walked in. And now it wasn't there anymore. Gone. Like the warning had only existed while it was being heard. But the screen still glowed faintly. And when I opened the gallery again, a new folder had appeared. /recovered/. Inside were 9 video files, each with no date, no metadata, each labeled with a time of day. 3:12 a.m., 4:47 p.m., 12:03 a.m., etc. I clicked the first. In it, I was sitting in my childhood bedroom. Not as a child, as I am now. The room was perfect, the shelves, the posters, the old red rug. It doesn't exist anymore. That house was torn down in 2015. But there I was. I leaned toward the camera and said, "You have until she wakes up. After that, she won't need the reports anymore. They're just paper now. Triggers. But once it's complete." I paused, looked afraid. She'll remember everything without them. I closed the video. My hands were sweating. In my apartment, the air felt too warm or maybe too full. Like someone else was there, watching. And the mirror across the hall had fogged over even though no steam or breath should have caused it. On the fogged surface, 2 letters appeared. E.G. I wiped it off. Nothing behind me. But for a second, just one frame, I saw her again. Faceless. Red dress. Standing in the hallway. The next video in the /recovered/ folder showed a different room. One I've never seen. Sterile. White walls. No windows. Fluorescent hum. In it, I was strapped to a chair. Wires on my head. Electrodes. Like some kind of medical setup. I was speaking softly, as if trying not to wake something. They made me forget on purpose. But the memory resisted. It wrapped itself in someone else. In Eli. Then I began to cry. I whispered. He doesn't know he was the container. He doesn't know he was built to hold me. I stopped the video there. Because I felt it. The weight of it. That truth, or maybe lie, burned its shape into the center of my mind. Eli wasn't overwritten. Eli was the placeholder. I wasn't becoming Emily. I'd always been her. The third video in the folder was corrupted. Flashing red bars. No audio, just one image flickering on repeat. A stick figure drawn in crayon waving from behind a mirror. Underneath it, 3 words. "Let me back. I haven't left my apartment since. I unplugged my printer. Doesn't matter. Pages still appear. Now they're handwritten again. Sloppy. Panicked. Like a child's." The latest one says, "I woke up and he was gone. Now I'm only me. But I'm not enough." I don't know who wrote that. But the ME is in all caps. Heavy crayon. Same pressure I used as a kid when I was scared. When I wanted to be noticed. The last thing that happened before I wrote this was a knock at the door. 3 soft taps. Not urgent. Just patient. When I looked through the peephole, there was no one there. Just a red envelope taped to the door. Inside it, a flash drive. On the casing in red Sharpie. Play last. I haven't plugged it in. Not yet. But I know what it is. The final overwrite. The last memory. The one that ends Eli forever. The one where I remember what really happened to her. To me. To us. And the worst part? A part of me wants to. Because I'm tired. Tired of splitting. Tired of flickering. Tired of only being half of something. Even if the other half is gone forever. I plugged in the flash drive. The room went cold. Not metaphorically, actually cold. The kind of chill that lives in the marrow. That hums beneath the skin. My laptop didn't recognize the drive at first. The screen blinked. Flickered. Then flashed once red. A single file appeared on the desktop. Mirrorbirth.mov. No icon. Just a blank, gray rectangle. I double-clicked. The video opened in full screen without prompting. No controls. No escape button. It began playing on its own. A hospital room. Muted green walls. A heart monitor beeping, slow and steady. A woman lies on the bed pale, shaking, whispering something I can't make out. Her eyes flicker toward a mirror across the room. The reflection is wrong. Not reversed. Just wrong. The angles don't match. The doctor's face is missing. The nurse's arms bend the wrong way. Then a sound, wet and sharp. A newborn's cry. The camera, if it even is a camera, zooms in. Not on the baby. On the mirror. In the glass, the birth is shown in reverse. The child isn't born. She's absorbed. Drawn back in like ink being rewound. And standing in place of the mother's reflection is a little girl in a red dress. Not a baby. Not a toddler. A girl of 6. Holding a crayon. She stares at the camera. Then writes something not on paper. On the inside of the mirror. The letters carve themselves across the glass. She was never gone. He was built to buy time. The mirror girl begins to cry. Her tears don't fall. They float up, spiral backward, disappear into the frame. Then the screen goes black. After 10 seconds, text appears. Typed. Centered. Recollection _report _014. Subject has witnessed inception event. Integration nearing finality. Mirror consciousness stabilizing. Host redundancy no longer required. Then below that. Would you like to erase Eli's residual shell? Yes. No. I stared at the screen for minutes. The mouse moved on its own. Hovered over yes. Waited. I pulled the flash drive out. The screen stayed lit. The question remained. Then it began to fade. Like fog receding from a window. I walked into the bathroom. Stared at the mirror. My face looked tired. Older. But full. Solid. Only mine. No second figure. No flicker. No delay. Just Emily. But on the counter resting beside my toothbrush was a single sheet of paper. Yellowed. Folded. I opened it. Red crayon. One last message. Thank you for keeping me warm. I didn't want to be forgotten. There was no signature. Just a small stick figure in a box. Smiling. Hand pressed against the edge. I whispered, I'm sorry. Not sure to whom. Then, for the first time in weeks, I slept through the night. But when I woke up, there were 2 toothbrushes again. And in the hallway mirror, a new figure. Small. Smiling. Drawing on the glass with red crayon. I smashed the mirror in the hallway. Then the bathroom one. Then the full-length one on the closet door. I covered the TV in a sheet. Taped black paper over my laptop screen. Turned off my phone. Still she came back. Not through glass anymore. Now it was any reflection. The side of the kettle. The rim of a spoon. The gleam in the window of a parked car. Even a puddle on the sidewalk showed her for a moment. Not standing. Not watching. Smiling. I called a psychologist. Told them I was losing touch with reality. They listened for a while. Then asked me my name. I hesitated. Emily, I said. Then added. But I used to be Eli. A long pause. Then static on the line. Then a soft voice, not the receptionist's. You've reached recollection depth. The rest is echo. Click. I stopped trying to use the phone after that. Anything with a screen, a lens, a shine, it all fed her now. She wasn't just a memory anymore. She was a residual ghost. A piece of what had been erased. Or worse, a consequence of remembering too much. I found a note under my pillow again. Red crayon. This one didn't feel like hers. It was sloppy. Jagged. Almost angry. You didn't finish the overwrite. Now you're both half. You can't be just Emily. You let Eli rot. Underneath that, a drawing. A mirror cracked down the middle. 2 stick figures. Neither smiling. I tried writing down what I remembered. Making sense of it. But every time I did, the paper came back blank. Or worse, rewritten. One note I scribbled said, born 1991. Only child. No sister. I left it on my desk. An hour later, it read, born from the reflection. Always 2. Only one can stay remembered. I went to a hardware store and bought black spray paint. Coated every shiny surface. Turned my apartment matte and dull and safe. For a while, it worked. No more glimpses. No more flickers. Just silence. Until the floorboard by my bed began to creak. Every night at 3:03 a.m. Same sound. One long groan. Then 3 sharp knocks. And this morning, the trapdoor was there. I don't have a trapdoor. My apartment is on the 3rd floor. But there it was. A square of wood lighter than the rest. No handle. No hinges. Just waiting. I pressed my ear to it. Silence. Then, you left me in the glass. I didn't forget you. Why did you forget me? The voice was mine. Younger. scared. And behind it, the scraping of crayon on some surface I couldn't see. Drawing something? I backed away, covered the trapdoor with furniture. It didn't help. The knocks kept coming. 3:03 a.m. Every night. 3 soft knocks. Then silence. Tonight, I opened it. The wood was cold. Too cold for summer. Inside, a narrow chute lined with mirrors. Not reflective ones, recording ones. Each pane showed a memory, but not mine. His. Eli's. Him reading at age 7. Him drawing stories at 10. Him sitting alone at lunch. Every memory I tried to forget. Every moment she didn't share. At the bottom of the chute was a note. Typed. Recollection_report_015. Dual shell stasis is unsustainable. Full overwrite failed. Reintegration required. Final choice pending. Underneath that, handwritten. Let him speak, or let him rot. I closed the hatch. But now, I hear humming from beneath the floor. The same lullaby I don't remember learning. And it's coming closer. 3:03 a.m. The knock came again. This time, not from the trapdoor. From the bathroom. I had shattered that mirror days ago. Covered every inch of reflective surface. But when I opened the door, it was back. Whole. Polished. Glowing faintly with a red pulse like a heartbeat. The surface rippled when I got close. Like warm water disturbed by a breath. And then it spoke. Not a voice. Not a sound. Just text appearing across the glass. Final recollection point reached. 2 identities detected. Conflict must be resolved. Below that, a new line faded in. Would you like to choose? I whispered, choose what? The surface shifted again. 2 names appeared written in red crayon strokes. Eli. Emily. Beneath them, choose one to stay. My mouth went dry. Behind me, I felt warmth at my back. Like someone had stepped just inside the door. I turned, no one. But a single crayon rested on my sink. Red. Blunt tip. Smelled faintly like wax and copper. The mirror pulsed again. Only one self can remain. Memory stability below threshold. Choose or fracture. Suddenly, the reflection changed. 2 versions of me. Eli on the left. Emily on the right. Both looked scared. Eli's eyes trembled. Emily's mouth was tight. Determined. Both reached forward, their hands touching the inside of the glass. But only one could come through. Then, a third hand appeared in the reflection. Smaller, childlike, placed a drawing between them. A house, a red dress, a stick figure with a smile, and 2 names written above. I don't want to be alone. The mirror flickered. Lines of code surged across its surface. Dimmed, glitched, and then showed just me again. No Eli, no Emily, just my face blurred, like the system couldn't decide what to render. And then silence, for a full minute, until the glass began to crack. Hairline fractures webbing from the center outward. A new message carved itself with each splinter. You refused. Duplicity integrated. Host is now a fused mirror. Neither self erased. But neither will ever be whole. Then the final message. You are the glass now. I screamed. The mirror shattered. But instead of shards hitting the floor, they floated, hung in the air like particles of ash, and then reassembled behind me not as a mirror, but as a window. And through that window, I saw a room, empty, white, with a desk, and 2 chairs, and in each chair 1 version of me, 1 drawing, 1 writing, both stuck in endless creation, endless memory. I collapsed to the floor. But when I looked up, the apartment was gone. I was standing in a vast space made of mirrors, reflections upon reflections, a hall of memory, of identity, of forgotten selves. The last thing I saw? Printer, old, dusty, spitting out a page, red crayon, slanted lines, a child's scrawl. If I pretend to be both of us, no one will leave again. I picked it up, held it to my chest. And when I looked at the mirrored floor beneath me, I saw only the child, smiling, content, alone but not lonely, because now they were both inside her, and she wasn't afraid anymore.